Happy Pride Month, everybody. Welcome to Fangirl Diaries. I'm your host, Danny, and let's get into today's entry. Lilia, what a crazy week that it's been. The Knicks won and almost destroyed our town. At least the people did. And then soccer's happening. Woo. I got nothing else. We're recording this before the parade happens, which I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, because, like, it is a good thing. Scary thing. I'm scared for that parade. You know the parade's happening the same day as the New York State Regents?
Really?
Yeah.
It's also happening the same day as the Korea-Mexico soccer game.
I thought you were going to say Korean-Mexico parade. I was like, wow, 2 parades in one day. That's crazy. Also, a weird mix for a parade.
I mean, it's going to feel that way.
Well, this week's episode is going to be... Well, the show we're doing this week is actually a really good one. I actually really, really enjoyed it. I'm trying to figure out what to say to kind of... I'm trying to figure out a good way to transition in, because I just want to jump in on things. But this is a show that I think, surprisingly, I'm... You know what? This show was announced before I got into BL, and then it had so many crazy things happen that a lot of people, I think, were surprised when it happened. You know what's funny is that I was watching as the production happened, and the things that were going on, I think people were really, really surprised that this came out. Or not super surprised, but I actually really enjoyed it, and I'm not gonna lie, this is actually a really, like, sentimental good show to come out during Pride Month, if I'm being honest with you. I think there was this there's this focus on, like, I mean, we don't really talk about how much you and I are within. We're allies, but in depth in terms of, like, our involvement with the LGBT community. I mean, because it's our own private matter and it is what it is for us. I guess because I'm trying to think of the discourse that's been going on online about Thai BLs and how the community over there feels about it, because I do understand that BL for the most part is a very woman-centric genre, because a lot of it is written by, well, yes, women, and that's not to say a lot of these women maybe aren't part of the community in one way or another, but having watched this show, and again, other people might have different opinions on it, but I will say this is definitely a great show to watch during Pride Month. It focuses a lot on, I think, issues that the community is still handling nowadays, and it was beautifully done. I cried during one point or another. And funny enough, while I was in Thailand, I feel like that's going to come up for a couple of shows that we end up doing. I got to see the 2 stars, NetJJ and Tutorium, because I do make a cameo at a Pride event the week that the show ended. Oh, no, the show ended this week, 2 weeks before the show ended, which was kind of nice. So if you couldn't guess, we are going to be doing Love Upon a Time, which is the first NetJJ show to come out under the Monday, the first time for them as a pairing. I believe this also might be the first Latte Kim show. I don't think they've been in anything else beforehand. I wonder if I could look that up quickly. I don't think they've been in anything else together. Yeah, this is the first Latte Kim show. It doesn't seem like they have anything else other than this one, which they're fantastic. I think they're a couple that I've suddenly fallen in love with, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the booty for not having bought. I would say the number one thing about my Thailand trip that I regret was not buying more Demundi mascot stuff. I bought a lot of Hardy stuff, and then for Nongzong, I think I only got like 2 things. Wish I got a couple of things from the other mascots, but it is what it is. So I will say, before we fully get into, like, what is the word I'm looking for? The synopsis of the show and everything like that, I do want to talk about the production of this show, because what went down in terms of getting to the show premiering and everything has a lot to do for us, at the very least, in terms of how we're going to be handling shows like this in the future. So for those who don't know, Lilia doesn't know this, and she's going to learn this, right, Lilia?
Yep.
You only learned this a second ago when I told you about it. Okay. So originally, this show featured a ton of different actors. So if you're in BL, you know that Net was originally part of a pairing with James. I believe Firestone was supposed to be in this, in the part that Kim plays, and then whatever pairing that was ended, and then obviously they replaced that carrying, and there's not much on that here, and I'm not about to go look it up, but he did do a song for the show. But the main focus I want to talk about is Net and James. So funny enough, I got into BL, and a few months after getting into it, Net and James had broken up. This had happened in March of 2024. So either I had just got into BL, or it was right before I got into BL, and all this stuff was kind of happening. I think his career in music had happened as I was getting in there. So the show was originally announced in December of 2022 as a part of the Mondays 2023 lineup. And then obviously it was postponed when James left. And then JJ came in and replaced him in May, because after that, I believe they did the DMD friendship show. And that's when, I want to say that's how Net and JJ got together. Someone could correct me. I'm going to look on here, because in all honesty, I am not the one. Yeah, he was in the Monday friendship. It Takes Two. I am not the one to be watching those types of shows. I find reality competition shows like that kind of not frustrating, but I'm just not a big fan of reality shows. I used to when I was younger. I used to go hard on like the Glee project, but I don't know. I think it's when it's these types. I'm still kind of like iffy when it comes to BL pairings and how they're formed, and it's a lot. So I obviously didn't watch when they became a pair. I've seen clips of it since, I think, here and there from my memory. And I know there's this annoying discourse because there were a lot of Net James fans, and you know, and even now sometimes if Net and James are with like in the same room, especially like recently with DMD Land 3, there's still a lot of people being like, oh, my Net James, I miss them, blah blah blah. Here's the thing, I get it. I it's heartbreaking when a pair breaks up. I dealt with that with funny enough, they also did a show kind of in this era with Grayton. I am so sad they're no longer a pair. They were one of my first BL pairings that I got into, and I'm not mad that Gray isn't a new pairing with Bright. I'm more mad that In hasn't got anything, and it seems like there's a whole like thing going on and why they were separated and all of that. But that's besides the point. I do think it's kind of ridiculous that now that they're kind of in a good spot, James is still doing shows. He kind of doesn't seem to want to be part of an official pairing, from my understanding. Net and JJ seem to, they work really well together. And all three of them seem to get along with each other. There's no like malice from what I've seen. They're literally, I think Nat posted a video of all the I want to say Gen 2, Gen 3, because Net, James, and Nat are all in that same generation of them hanging out. And yeah, they weren't next to each other, but it's very clear that they're able to like be in the same facility without it being a problem. So I do think it's kind of ridiculous that a lot of the discourse during the show airing was people being mad that it wasn't James and that pairing doesn't exist. And I've watched episodes of Bed Friend. I feel like JJ was the better choice for this character. I've seen the original pilot because there was an original pilot filmed for Love Upon a Time with James in it. And in all honesty, I think with how the show went, and it could have been a completely different show. I don't know what none of us will ever know if the show, you know, would have been in any way different or if it would have been the same script. I think JJ was the better fit for this character. That being said, because at some point we are going to be doing shows for broken couples, I am a Net JJ fan. I adore them. We will at some point do Net James. We will, in the sense that we will at some point do Bed Friend, because I do want to do Middleman's Love, and I would rather do both shows. And I'm not the type to want to ignore a pairing that might have ended just because it ended. The only reason we wouldn't really do a show, I think, is something Lilia and I have, in a sense, discussed, but I don't think we fully discussed this at all, is that the only reason we may not decide to do a show is if an actor in it has caused too big of, and it has to be like a lead actor, too big of a scandal that it just doesn't seem right to bring attention to it. So, for example, at some point we will do Reset. I know that there was a scandal with Peter Pan, but it wasn't like, it was big, but like it's not like the other actor that was in the show who was in Playboy who did some really fucked up shit. we're going to do it because that scandal wasn't harming enough to the reputation of the show for us not to do it. He's not a lead in that. So it's kind of like what I kind of want to state. I think this new pairing is going to thrive really well. I know it's sad that we no longer have the other one, but we should move forward. And but that doesn't mean we can't revisit the past. So it's kind of where I want to just kind of state any stance on any future shows. Because I was also thinking about this the other day. Because, like, what has going to happen with Winnie Satong? And I know everybody is hoping that Jimmy comes back for Magic Lover, but I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. I don't think he will. But if he does by some miracle, but if he doesn't, this is going to be one of those things where it's like, it's sad that he might not be there, but we're going to support Om and whoever he's with. But we're still going to do Next Prince. And Jimmy Om's in that. So that's kind of where I wanted to talk about that, you know, because that was something that was lingering a lot. And I'm glad that since the ending of the show, it's gone a little less and less. It's still there, though. I still see it, but we should just be happy that they're all still working and they're all still friends. And from my understanding, James was the one who didn't want to do acting anymore to this capacity, and that's fair. He's picked a path for himself. They all picked a path for themselves, and that's that. We'll probably have to re-talk about this when we do Bad Friends at some point, but that won't be for a while. So that's kind of all I wanted to state on that. I know there was like a couple other issues in terms of like there was some flooding that happening, so this show got delayed. I think this was supposed to come out, you know, I think it was supposed to come out in December, and then it got moved to March because of like how bad the flooding was and everything. I want to point out we're literally recording this while Lilia is watching the soccer game. She is freaking out because she's about to lose a lot of money. She's got a gambling problem. To the synopsis. So, I'm looking at the names of these characters. I enjoyed the show, but you know what kind of sucked about this show, Lilia? Is that there are two sets of names for some of these characters. Because they go to the past. So, my notes, half of the characters, it was just, for JJ's, it was Klao. Is what I named him, even when he wasn't Klao, because technically he's not Klao, but anytime they call him Klao, I was like, oh, it's just Klao. I'm going to have trouble with all of these names. I'm so sorry, everybody. So let's start. Nakun is an unsuspicious 20-year-old student. One day, fate plays a trick on him, and he winds up traveling back nearly 400 years to the Kingdom. He's mistaken for someone who has gone missing, so he assumes the identity of Klao and tries to work out the mystery of its disappearance while searching for a way back to his time period. Klao's friend, I can never figure out how to pronounce that. How? They said it so many times, and yet I still can never register the names. I suck at this. I'm sorry, guys. I promise it's my confidence. Doesn't believe that Nakun is the younger brother he knew and keeps an eye trained on him. That last line did not make sense. Anyway, it's funny because he does believe that it is him. I don't remember any scenes where he doesn't. So I'm going to say right off the bat, this show, as funny as it was, there were many times that it got really emotional. Very sweet. Like I said earlier, I think it was one of those shows where I don't want to say it's like a good show to watch during Pride Month because it's not my place to say, especially in the community over there, what's a good show. But they did tackle a lot of things because obviously this is mostly set 400 years in the past, where obviously being, well, I don't even think the word gay really was a thing, but being in a relationship with a man or the person of the same sex wasn't a thing at all. And there are many, like there was one scene that I just thought was really hard to watch, that a part of me is really sad that I got spoiled it on Twitter and didn't get to see it as it premiered, because I feel like it would have hit more naturally had I not seen it so many times. But it was done in such a way that I was so heartbroken and it was so sad. It wasn't many scenes like that. But to start off, we're going to start off with the funniness of like the main character. So I'm going to call him Kundi in the entire time. You had Poon, which is, I believe it's Kim's character. V, which is Latte's character. So they're a group of friends in college. Poon has since turns 20. Klao, oh my God, these names. And as soon as he turns 20, that's when like his bad luck starts happening. He literally like almost gets killed a couple of times. He gets caught in the rain. All this stuff happens. Granted, at least he has friends who support him. And he's trying to figure out why he's having all this bad luck. We're not really sure why. And in the same time, we have his friends, so Poon and the Poon. The Poon. I guess how you say it, right? The Poon. My goal for the new year is to take a class in the Thai language to better improve my pronunciation on things. That in Japanese as well. That is my goal for the new year. For next year, not this year. I have too much going on this year. So those two, side couple, seem to be very much into each other. It's very clear that Poon doesn't really care much for him, for the he's always chasing him around. He's, by the way, a terrible friend in the beginning. He's kind of an asshole. Only making fun of Kun when he's like down, and I'm like, my guy, I'm glad Poon doesn't like you because you're kind of a jerk. But they're very cute. I like that we kind of establish kids' kind of relationships very early on, so we kind of get an understanding of like the type of person he is. Like he's a very thoughtful person. He is always there to kind of be helpful. There's literally a scene where he chases a robber and rescues a woman's purse, but then they accuse him of being the one that stole it. He comes from a single person household. He lives with his mom, who herself is a cop. I actually found this out recently, that apparently the actress who plays his mom and then the person who plays the past version of him, his dad, so like his other character's dad, are both like singers in like really famous T-pop groups from back in the day. That was a really nice touch. Not really relevant right now, but it kind of thing I just remembered. So he goes to this fortune teller. I'm kind of giving you a quick synopsis that's much better than whatever the fuck that synopsis was earlier. And this fortune teller lets him know that essentially there's a curse placed upon him or some unfinished business, and a curse placed upon the Inpoon that needs to be rectified. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a shooting star, he sees a shooting star because he doesn't really believe in that. He's like, well, he doesn't believe it. It's kind of more or less, he's kind of like, are you serious? Like, something that's happened in the past that he has to fix, how he's supposed to fix it. And a shooting star ends up passing by him, and what is his luck? The shooting star falls on him, literally, and he gets transported back in time. Woo! It's literally within the first, I think that's how the first episode is. It's like really like quick type thing. These episodes, by the way, were an hour long, which was kind of insane. I don't know why Dumandi does this to me. I feel like the last couple shows they've had have all been like, I haven't seen, was it Durana on You? That's like one I haven't watched. I don't think yours guys that long, but like the Next Prince, each episode I felt like it was like an hour and 20 minutes long. I'm probably exaggerating, but that shit was really long. And then Kanjara, I think the last episode was almost 2 hours long. They're really good. Production is beautifully done. But I'm like, yo, is Magic Lover going to be like 3 hours an episode? I'm here for it. But also I'm like, these are really long episodes. It was getting to a point where I enjoyed it, but I kept forgetting some of the plot. Like I would watch like 4 episodes in a row, and this is why I write show notes. I write show notes, but then like suddenly I would forget what was I literally forgot what he was investigating. When we figured out that his dad or Klaus' dad got like put to death, I was like, what for? And then they kept mentioning like, I think it has something to do with like falsifying papers or something. Couldn't remember. I just knew that the main thing we were trying to figure out was who killed them. Because that's the freaky part. So when I say he gets transported back in time, I thought it was a nice touch that they don't just put him in someone's body. They literally transfer him back in time. But that also means, like, when you think about it while you're watching the whole show, so while he's in the past doing all this stuff and being with Klaus' friends, Klaus' body's in the bottom of a pond, dead, literally decaying. Literally, in the last episode, we're just going to jump ahead, they find his body, it's fully decayed. Like, the only reason they recognize the same is because he's wearing his clothes. It's wild when you think it. That's, like, the one freaky thing about this show. I do love that this a good chunk of this entire show was Dumandi reminding us how hot Net is. Because literally, in like, I think it's like episode 2 or 3, I'm gonna call him Klao for the entire time. I know he's not Klao, but I'm gonna call him that. They're like telling him he needs to like clean himself up, so he goes to like wash up with all the other men, and it's just a bunch of shirtless men in the water, and he's like shy and stuff. And I'm like, listen, that were me, I jump right on in there. And then there's like Net standing there, like with his towel, like hat, or his like bottom half kind of hanging there. And I'm like, my guy, we know you're hot. Have I shown you a picture of this man? All right, let me show Lilia a picture of Net so she gets an idea of what I'm talking about. I just love that's been having a lot of just like, he's really hot, so we're gonna show you him shirtless a lot. Like every time he didn't came out. Same with like Latte. There were a good chunk of scenes where Homeboy was just not wearing a shirt. I was like, you know what? My favorite thing that works for this though is that, so in the last episode, we kind of get a saucy scene between him and, so it's like Thee and Poon, the present characters. And obviously Poon's very shy because it's his first time, and he like closes his eyes because he's like nervous. I would say this line worked really well. If I had been at that episode viewing, I'm pretty sure I would have gotten death from all the screaming. But the line works. He turns him over and says, "Don't close your eyes. I went to the gym for this." A wild thing to say, but I was like, you know what? You did, and you proved it. Hold on, let me show you this man. So this is Net.
He looks nice.
That's it? That's all I gotta say? Get some better taste, Lilia. Look at this man. If you saw that in person, like he's just listening in the sun.
He looks like One Peel from Day 6.
I hate you.
He does though.
I hate you so much. See, now I can never watch another Net show ever again because Lilia's ruined it for me. Thank you, Lilia.
You asked me.
No, I didn't. Anyway, I like that I just have a word outside that says, "Poor baby trapped by sexy." So I do like that this is one of the shows where I've seen a lot of shows where they set the character to the past and they never kind of question this. I do like in like the first couple episodes, he does question like, you know, he can't look up anything on the internet because there's no such thing as an internet. He has to adapt to being in the present day. He speaks a lot of like modern day lingo, which was kind of funny. I will say he's very much I guess you call him a Gen Z. So much random English coming out of him. Literally in the first episode, he does that meme that's like, what is it? I'm okay. He does that in the very first episode. I thought that was so funny. But he does a lot of memes to them. And it's always funny seeing these characters being like, what is wrong with him? That's why they kind of think he's like not well. Because he's like talking weird and things like that. So kind of it's just him trying to figure out what it is that he needs to fix about the past that's going to set him back to the present, break the curse. And then as we go along and he starts recognizing, because when he gets thrown in, he first thinks that this is like a prank TV show. Like his friends are pranking him because he's seeing his two friends and he's like, I must be, you know, you guys are playing along with me. And he only realizes that he's not in a prank because Poon is a really trustworthy friend. So once he realizes what's going on, he kind of like sets forth to kind of like complete his mission and get home. But then obviously he starts falling in love and all that crap. Like, damn, don't forget the mission. I will say a really funny scene is the fact that in that, like, once he's in the past, it took him like a whole day to realize that there's technically no bathroom. Well, because you don't really think about that. They don't really do that a lot in these types of shows. Like when they send these people back to the past, they never really address the whole situation of like how the bathrooms are supposed to work. Especially if you're set back so far back where there's no modern plumbing. And he's like, okay. Oh my God, you know who else was in this? We probably mentioned this. So we recorded Love You Teacher earlier. That's what's coming out next week. Spoiler alert for our schedule. Not really spoiler, but we're doing Love You Teacher next week. The kid who was in that show, remember I said he's like the Ty Beale version of McKenna Grace? Mm-hmm. He is in this. He's in this as like the younger version, I think, of like JJ's character. I thought that was so cute. I just love that he was there. So as we go along, we learn more about the relationship. Very clearly they cared about each other. the more I think about it, what I'm kind of sad is that we don't see too much of their like romanticness relationship. I think it's funny, in the first episode, we see what is supposed to be like a flashback of what we assume is the two of them, Klao and Phop, but it turns out it's not. It's like it's a flashback to like what's going to happen in the last episode. That is, Kun with Klao, and like right before he goes back to the present. So we're learning little by little what the relationship was. And then we kind of see more and more as we go on that Klao unfortunately was dealing with a lot of stuff towards the end. So once we find out that Klao's dad was basically put to like sentenced to death. Well, not sentenced to death, he was sentenced to like a whipping, which is a crazy punishment because that's just basically being sentenced to death. Due to being falsely accused, we later down the line find out that Klao kind of was spiraling, trying to figure out what happened, who did it. He's getting drunk. He's going to a pleasure house, but he's not getting any pleasure. He's kind of just, you know what a pleasure house is? A brothel. Yeah. He's not going there for that stuff. Apparently he made friends, or I get from what it's assumed is that the lady that he was meeting with was there comforting him, but also may have known some stuff. And then it kind of led to his original death. It was like a whole thing. So I do like that it's not like a typical like time travel story that I feel like I've seen a lot. I really enjoyed that it's not just taking him in and putting him in someone's body. He's taking a place. And it is kind of crazy how when he goes back in time, so he's been in the past, 400 years in the past for like maybe close to a year, and then when he goes back into the present, it's only been 45 minutes. That takes a toll out of people. Even crazier is that as the show is airing, a story came out, I think, of a girl in the UK who like the same thing happened to her, where she didn't go back to the past. That'd be crazy. She was in a coma for 3 months, and apparently while she was in that coma, her brain warped a reality for her where she apparently lived an entire life raising 3 kids, like triplets. And when she came out of that coma, she said that she had trouble like kind of coming back to reality, because for her it felt so real. So it's like when you see, Klao at the end or Kun at the end kind of dealing with his like mental state of being back in the present, you kind of understand why it's taking him so long, because he spent a whole year there, even though his body and his mental capacity was only like 45 minutes. Kind of confusing though, because his mom, I know I'm jumping to the very end, and I kind of wanted to mention this because the timeline for everything's kind of crazy, is that he goes back to the present in the clothes he was wearing in the same way that when he goes back to the past, he goes in the clothes he was wearing. And I'm like, how do you explain that? Like, how does the mom be like, you were only gone for an hour. I left for a wedding and I came back and then I found you and then you were troubled. You were unresponsive. Madam, he was wearing different clothes. Clothes made out of fabric that might not have been around for 400 years. Anyway, it is very much... I just really enjoyed JJ in this part. I will say, despite everything, I really enjoyed JJ in this part. He was very lovable, very kind, very someone you could very relate to. He was trying his best to kind of figure out day to day, adapting really well, but then dealing with like this whole, no matter how long he's been in the past, still not able to fully adapt. They have this like oracle who he keeps trying to speak to, but because to the people, the oracle's gone crazy. They feel that, he's kind of messed in the head and he's causing too many problems. That's one other thing I hate about shows like this. How is it when, like, I understand that Klao was kind of already troubled in himself, drinking and going to pleasure houses, but like, if he's like supposedly in a coma, why are you all acting like he's supposed to know this crap? As far as he's aware, his memory is lost. I never understood that. What other show that happened with us? There's something similar. I can't remember the show where the entire time they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so went through this tragic thing. Their memory's not fully there. But yet we're still going to be like, how did you not know this? How did you not understand that? I never understood that. Like, he's clearly not all there. He clearly didn't recognize you people. Like, it's gonna take a month. It was so annoying. I hate when that shit. Like, I get why it happens, but I'm always so frustrated because I'm like, he's just trying his best. You know, he doesn't deserve any of this. And then you have Fu, who's like super protective because he's in love with him and he just doesn't want him to disappear again. So it's like very like saddening. So we kind of discussed their relationship. They do eventually, you know, I guess I'll close off one relationship and then talk about the other one. Is that, okay, so we kind of see that Phop, it very much was him, you know, trying to keep him close because he already lost Klao once. He doesn't want to lose him again. You see the struggles of him wanting to just be near him, but also realizing that he's at the certain ranking in his family that being with a man, it's a dangerous outlook. But also he just doesn't seem like he really cares. It's funny because he gets put into an arranged marriage with this woman who's very kind, very sweet, you know, there's nothing against her. She understands, because she talks to Klao later on, that she understands that he doesn't love her because they're not at that level. They haven't been around each other enough. But she's accepted that this is her fate because she's a woman. And I do love that Klao, Kun, whatever you want to call him, kind of tells her, you know, you don't have to just restrain yourself to just being somebody's wife, which helps him in the end, because when Boom reveals to his family that he is in love with Klao, they end the marriage, end the arrangement by stating that because of Klao's current mental state and how much he cares for him, that they don't feel that they can continue with the engagement. And homegirl stands up for herself and is like, it's okay. I've realized that I don't have to just be someone's wife. I can do, you know, anything, even though that makes her dad angry. Which I do love that we do get little hints in the present day of where some of these characters have ended up. And there were many scenes where she was very big on like perfumes. It's nice that we get to see that she in the present day has become like an influencer and is selling her own perfume. So it just kind of shows that sometimes you need encouragement. And basically they do end up together. Some with a bit discouragement from the family. He's very resentful of his father, I will say, because because I don't know too much knowledge of how this works. Although I've seen it in like a couple of shows. Like I know this happening in Kamjara, where I guess because they're lords or heads of households, will have more than one, maybe not wife. I guess I don't know if they would be called wives. Well, they have wives and like concubines. I'm not really sure how all the structure works, because he's essentially mad or resentful to his father for bringing in 2 other women into their household to have children with, because his mother only had him, because he has 2 siblings, but he doesn't really acknowledge them. And then you have these 2 women, which they're not really big characters. They're kind of like the main wife's lady in waiting, his mother's lady in waiting. But one of them betrays the family by like going into cahoots with a man that was after Klao, because I guess she's pissed that her son doesn't get the same treatment as Klao does, even though Klao's not a son. But she feels that her son should be treated just as well. And it's like, lady, you're going to fuck yourself over. You are replaceable. They just want the kid. Like, calm your ass down. It's really heartbreaking because, like, at first they're not sure what's gonna happen. They try to send Klao away, and then little by little they kind of just accept it. It's kind of one of those, we don't really understand it, but we're going to accept it. And that was what they were more scared about, was what's going to happen when it's revealed. And although they can't be as open in public, they're at least able to be open with each other behind in their home. So I thought that was like sweet. I don't know how realistic that would be in reality. And it's probably not really realistic, but at least it's something that's like, you know, hopeful wise, they got to be together. I will say the sad part about this is that, considering it's not really Klao, it's in Klao's like spot, he kind of, in this, like, as we get towards the end of them figuring out what actually happened and who was behind Klao's father being falsely accused, he in many ways, it's kind of sad, he in many ways kind of almost falls into believing he is Klao. Like, he knows that he at some point will have to leave, but a part of him also kind of decides for himself that maybe he doesn't have to. Because, like, he doesn't want to leave. He's already fully in love. And then sadly he does. And it's like, it's tragic. They do obviously end up together in the very end. And I'll kind of discuss more the last episode once I get, because I want to talk about Lotte and Kim's characters, because those were another ones I thought were so cute. So obviously, if you look at their present day counterparts, when it's Dee and Poon, I think is how we're gonna say it. Obviously, he's into Poon a lot, and who wouldn't? If you've seen Kim, I have to show you Kim. He's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Like, oh my goodness, beautiful. He very much does not want to be around Dee, and like, because he's annoying, and I totes get that. But what they learn from the same fortune teller when they take Kun there is that there is a curse on their relationship that needs to be broken. So what we find out in the past is that it's kind of reversed. So you have it's like the opposite. You know, Poon's past counterpoint is in love with Dee's past counterpart, but he doesn't want him to be in love with him, even though there's very clear that they're into each other in the same way, because, you know, he feels that he's putting himself up for danger, but he disguises it as, you need to be more of a man, you need to do training, and what happens to your future because he's very feminine, and that's like looked down upon, he's made fun of. And there are many points in the series and I'm like, my guy, you need to let up. You seem to really care. You keep pushing him away, but then you're playing with his feelings by bringing him back in, because he's the doctor, and Kao is more or less like his assistant. And it's very clear, like, Kao is very feminine, very into like bright colors, which I thought was kind of weird how they show a scene where he's in a market and the merchant tries to sell, I think it was like a cloth of a darker color, and he clearly prefers like the light pink one, and they make fun of him. But I'm like seeing a bunch of people in their family, like in the type of ranking that they have, in bright colors, not just the women. So I thought that was kind of like, what is going on here? So there are many scenes of them like playing like back and forth, and obviously at some point Klao is like done with it. So how the curse ends up happening is that we find out there's a wishing stone later on that gets sent to Klao, and he gives it to, basically puts in a curse saying that in their next life, the next time they're reincarnated, he will chase him and he will not reciprocate his feelings, which ends up happening. We find out later on, which is really sad. And the reason why Joe is like that, why he doesn't want to reciprocate his feelings, and this comes with the scene that Tutor Yem ends up being in, is that Tutor Yem they cameo as the son of a lord and a servant who his servant gets beaten, whipped to death because they find out that they're in a secret relationship. So Jom seems like firsthand what happens when a same-sex couple is revealed and the harsh reality of what could happen. And it's really sad. Like, the scene was it was one of those where he says this line, I just remember like wanting to just like bawl my eyes out, because he says, we have done nothing wrong. And they haven't. Falling in love is not something to be ashamed of. And saying that he is like the most wonderful things ever happened to him, and then his father finds them and puts him to death, and then we find out in the same sense that Yem's character also ends up dying later on of a broken heart or of other circumstances. I will say the one fault about the show that I was really mad about is that we didn't get a cameo in the last episode from Tutor Yem showing those two happily together, and I was really hoping we would see that, because I think that would have been a great way to like really show that everything is more accepting now than it was back then. And so it takes obviously Kun Klao to like push them back together. He kind of realizes this is the other task that he needs to fix to be able to send back to the past. And they do end up getting together, which is very sweet. But we just see many scenes of just them back and forth. They do a whole Sankra thing too, which is nice to see. It was really cute. Although it's kind of when the curse happens, quote unquote curse. I will say one of the funniest scenes with this couple is that, so they all decide they have to work together to figure out who falsely accused Klao's dad, right? They have to go to the brothel, and both of them are like, we're gonna send first you to go and try to get the, what was her name? Lady Van, I think it was. I can't remember what the character's name was. And both times either character went up, they both got scared of being around women. Or not women, but scared of being around like these ladies of the nights who are trying to lure them in, to the point where Joan ends up crying because he can't do it. And it's like the funniest shit. I'm like, oh my God, we get it. You're not into girls. Clear as day. And they end up finding out. So it ends up being, so the culprit, spoiler alert, is betrothed's uncle. And he gets betrayed by his fellow soldier. And it's this whole thing of like, they were trying to get them to forge these things. And he killed him. And then it's like this, like, I'm telling you this, watch the show. I cannot describe it really well because it was a lot going on for me to kind of remember like plot points. But it was such a good show. And I do like that as soon as that's done, one of the characters who was kind of in a battle with Klao over the lady of the night that they were into ends up getting captured. He loses the woman he was supposedly in love with because she ends up being murdered by the same group of people they're working for, tries to kill them, and that's when Kun's sent back to the present. I'm probably saying his name wrong, and I apologize. This is me trying to sound things out. It is Kun. I'm just, whatever. So obviously we get a present day episode is how we end it. So it is really sad because we do get to see scenes of how both of them react to no longer being around. Oh, I guess the one thing I should also remark in this case is that the servants of these characters were probably the more accepting of everyone around. Literally, he has one servant, two of them who are married, who I thought it was funny. The entire discourse, this entire show, was the fact that Klao's servant, I think is Shuai, was married to a woman, CI, and there's a third one, I think it's Kong. Oh my God, I'm sorry. And it's almost like either they're all in a secret throuple or the two men are in love with each other and are just having a secret affair. None of that ever gets revealed. I was kind of sad that we didn't get a present day scene of whether or not supposedly like we see all three of them, but we get no indication if the two are still married to each other or if he's with the servant, because they clearly are all working for Poom's company. That's the other thing. In the present day, Poom owns this hotel that all of them are working for. I wish we would have gotten that, but it is very sad that once they find Klao, it's not only, Poom that's brokenhearted and it's his friends and his servant, because he was like, they're almost like a brotherly relationship. Anytime Klao Kun ran off to like try to discover more information, he was right behind him the entire time, always dealing with his shenanigans. At one point he gets dressed up like a woman for him. So it's kind of like, it's almost like a family. It's not like he's a servant. He really becomes like family. And it's so heartbreakingly sad to see, like he says, they try to get him to go to his quarters to rest. And he's like, well, who will be here when he finally returns? Who will be here to take care of him? And I'm like, don't say that. Because then they find his body and it's really sad. It is heartbreaking. Like the entire time you're just waiting for them to find it. And it's like, I will say that the good thing, even though it's sad, is that they do find his body and they're able to properly bury him and have a conclusion. But then obviously Pope dies of a broken heart and it's this whole thing. And it's just really heartbreaking that they didn't get to have the great love they were supposed to have. And when Klao is there are many times where he says, I wish we could be together, but it might be better that they get together when it's more accepting. And it just breaks your heart. But obviously we do end up on a happy note. So he comes back, he sees who's being reincarnated, and we get a wedding scene. I love that they do mention that they can now finally get married, because there were many scenes where Poom was like, I'm going to ask my father to let me marry you. And obviously it probably wouldn't have been an official marriage because of the circumstances, but this time around they get to be married. They get to be with the parent that's always cared for them. His father's reincarnated as well. And then obviously we know that his mother is technically his father reincarnated. So it is this bittersweet, like happy ending where they finally get to be together. It only took 400 years. I know, it's crazy. And what's even crazier is we find out all of it happened because Phop had to orchestrate everything, because as it turns out, he got his memories when he turned 20, and he couldn't say anything for a whole year because Kun was younger, because he realized that he had to be the one to orchestrate getting Kun back in time. and it's such a good show. I feel like sometimes I struggle. I know there's gonna be one episode you're gonna be like, why are you struggling so much to talk about this show? I feel like I sometimes struggle a lot to talk about shows that I really like, because I don't just want to go beat for beat, and that ends up happening because I don't know what else to say. Like, the production was well done, the storyline was well done, the actors were great, costuming was beautiful. I mean, story-wise could have been a little bit. I feel like I wish, maybe it's because I didn't pay attention much. I didn't really care so much about the reasoning why he was put to death or accused, because I think I kept missing it. I was so more focused on the relationship aspects. I feel like maybe that had been similar for me, but that's just me. It is a show I will rewatch. I did get second couple center where I was more focused on the second couple, like Latte Kim. I really enjoyed NetJJ. I really did. But I am so ready also for a Latte Kim led series. I hope we get that when Damundi does their big announcement next month. Or I think it's at the end of the month before our recap. So we're going to have a lot to talk about that recap. Because they were just so beautifully, like, their storyline just ended up being everything I wanted and more. And I by the way, the NC scene, the saucy scenes were chef kisses. Literally, I love that you can go on Twitter and find poor Kim, like, covering his face because he doesn't want to watch it. But oh my God, is it well done for both couples in that last episode. I will say that's the one thing about the Monday is that a lot of their shows don't need to have too many sex scenes, but when they do them really, really well. They're usually really beautifully done where the chemistry is there, or it's like really sexy, like it hits, like you're just like, damn. No, but it really, like, it is what it is. I know you don't really want to watch shows like that, but I would say that you're kind of good to watch this one because there's not a lot of those types of scenes in there. It's like maybe 2 or 3, but it's so really well done. I do like that somehow Damundi was able to sneak in an advertisement, so a sponsorship. There's literally 2 scenes that where Kun's kind of like hallucinating his favorite beverage, which ends up being one that they always advertise in Damundi shows. It just was like a clever way to do product placement without having to like mess up with the integrity of this being like a show from the past. Because what they easily could have done was had many scenes of them like cut back to the present day of like a present day flashback type thing where they show them like zooming in on a drink. They use it as like he's hallucinating because he really likes this drink, and then they play into it where they end up creating it in the past using ingredients from back then. Like clever things like that. I'll give Damundi that. They're a little better than GMM when it comes to product placement for the most part, you know. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just not much to say in the sense of like watch it. I mean, I reiterated beat for beat for them. Well, not beat for beat, I don't think. What do you think, Lilia? Not really. Kind of try to do as many plot points as I could that I felt were important. There's a lot that I haven't spoken about that I feel like I would rather just, it's not really necessary for me to talk about, but it was really well done. I'm glad that we did get this show and this didn't end up getting canceled just because the partners ended up changing. I think for our first show, this really showed off how really well Net and JJ worked together. And I can't wait for another show. I think their chemistry has proven, really well. They're really great actors. I think that's really what it boils down to, is that they really made it work despite everything. They really made it work, and it was really well done. It was a lot of fun. There were many funny points, really good points. Very emotional. I'm like looking through my notes. There's like not much I want to else reiterate, but that, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I do love that we ended it on like a wedding, that they got to be married and they had their friends being there. Their witnesses. I do think it's funny that they got married first, so I think quickly too, but they've been waiting 400 years, so it makes sense. It's things like that. I also think it's great that they did it around the time that, like, this time last year, we saw Thailand become, I think, one of the first country in Asia to accept same-sex marriage. And while, other countries haven't fully followed suit, we can only hope that the continue of seeing the beauty and all that love encourages other countries to do the same thing, because it's everyone deserves to be happy. That's what it goes down to. Everyone deserves to be happy with their person and not shamed for loving who they love. Respectfully, I'm going to add that because the more I think about it, I feel like people use a sentence, love respectfully in the way that it should be between adults. I don't know why I feel like I have to add that. The internet's a terrible place. The internet's just a horrible place. That's what it is. I thought there was lightning that went off. Is another game about to start? Jesus Christ. But yeah, there really isn't much. Oh, there were so many white people in the show. I love that. I'm trying to figure out what else I want to mention. Literally, and then it says, oh my God, white people. There's literally multiple scenes. Because obviously, I don't know why they added these. Where obviously we get foreigners from England coming to the strange land to explore. And many things of just them speaking English. There's literally a scene where they have Nakun and Klao do a whole Shakespeare monologue to show off that they're not, because they kind of see them as savages because they're not, British or whatever. I just thought that was so crazy that they did that. And then we keep seeing them little by little. They're just sprinkled in there. I was like, what? It was so funny. I was like, white people. It was crazy. But yeah. So I think we're going to end it there. Obviously rating song of the week, but in terms of me talking about the show, I think that's kind of all I have to say. Clearly, between the beginning of this episode and now, I've kind of perked up a bit more. I needed to just really get into it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. In terms of our rating, I guess we can jump into that. I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. I think that's what this show deserves. I feel like I don't want to say it's a perfect 10. There wasn't a lot that I was kind of about. I think in terms of ratings, a lot of it isn't obviously supposed to be a serious rating. It's kind of more my enjoyment on it. And I enjoyed it, but I clearly was having, for myself, and I have ADHD, so it is what it is, kind of focusing a lot on the main plot. I was more focused on the relationship aspect of the characters, which is, made it hard for me to really want to focus on what they were going after. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I will rewatch it and try to focus more on that. I apologize to anyone who might be mad at me for not following that plot, but this is kind of what this is me talking about shows and how I feel about them and stuff. But yeah, so an 8 out of 10. I can't wait for these couples to have more shows. And our song of the week. So this was a tricky one for me because I could not figure out what to do for song of the week. And I saw some edits for the show. One edit I really loved, and I just want to see if I can find it. It used that song from Epic. So this is not my song of the week, but I will mention that this is a song that I think also fits. It's called Would You Fall in Love With Me Again? Because the way this person edits the song with scenes from the show was just so really, really well. But I didn't want to take that song because for me, that's not what I was hearing. So what I've decided to pick, War of Hearts by Ruel. I hope we're saying that right. This is a song I think came out, it's been years. This song came out in 2015. This is a bit of an old one, but it's a really good one. I don't know why, I was listening to random playlists last night. This is a show it's not that it's tricky to find, a song for this. I kind of was trying to wrap around my mind of when you're doing a show that's set in the past, how do you pick something to kind of mesh and will within it? And I was looking through some theater songs, couldn't really find anything. And this one, I don't know, the lyrics kind of just spoke to what I felt like they were going through, because it really was them battling, whether to be together or not and all this stuff. So I felt like that mixed in really well. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else I have to say, but good job for Demundi. They're really kicking some butt in terms of shows. GMM may, and I'm only bringing up GMM because I know that this past week some ranking thing came out of which BL companies are doing really well and views and stuff. And GMM was number 1 and Demundi's number 2. And I can't really speak to the other companies, but because they're really the top two. I mean, GMM releases a lot more show, and I think they're a much bigger company, but Damati's really hitting it. I really, really wish they would try to produce more shows more, I don't want to say more quickly, but I do think it takes too much time for them, but they're kicking it out of the park. This really is another good show. I really want to watch that show they did. I think it's Drawn a View with You. I started watching Your Sky again. I can't wait for your third. Magic Lover, obviously. So, Damati's really kicking butt. And they've got some cute mascots. I'm going to show you their mascot. It's this little, capybara with a carrot. It's really cute. There was a video of Net messing with him. And then Latte Kim's is this little dog that's, made out of latte foam. Because Latte Kim. It's cute. No, you have to see it. It's so cute. But so, yes, that's kind of the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment, I guess. And we'll see you guys next week for our end of June episode. Also to celebrate the last week of school. Because I think school gets out next week, right? Crazy. With Love You Teacher. Speaking of GMM, Love You Teacher per Santa's most recent outing show. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. All right, guys, that's it for this entry. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts. On Twitter, you can find us at FG Diaries Pod. On Tumblr, TikTok, and Instagram, you'll find us at FG Diaries Podcast. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and hope you all have a wonderful fangirly day.